you will have exclusive...
Hi there, and welcome to Bookworms. My name is Steve, and with me today I have...
Eunice Radford.
Hi, Eunice.
Hi.
Hi. So you're listening to Bookworms on Arrow 92.7 FM, your friendly community radio station, also broadcast on Channel 41 on Wairarapa TV. Today, what we'd like to do, Eunice and I would like to do a heavily edited scene, you'll be pleased to know, from Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. Eunice will be playing Portia, the judge,
Thank you.
the lawyer in the scene, and I'll be playing Shylock.
Excellent.
Bit of background on Merchant of Venice. It's a 16th century play written by William Shakespeare, which you all knew anyway, of course, in which a merchant in Venice named Antonio defaults on a large loan provided by a Jewish moneylender, Shylock. It's believed to have been written between 1596 and 1599. So although classified as a comedy and sharing certain aspects with Shakespeare's other romantic comedies, the play is most remembered for its dramatic scenes, and it's best known for Shylock and his famous "Hath not a Jew eyes" speech on humanity. Also notable is Portia's speech about the quality of mercy, and critic Harold Bloom listed it among Shakespeare's great comedies. Personally, I studied the play at school for my GCE O-level in English Lit when I was 16 years old. I've seen it performed many times, and towards the end of our studies, our teacher took us to took the class to a theatre in London to see the play performed, which was a fabulous thing for us to see. Sadly, I don't remember much about the play. I'm sure it was wonderful, as we were following the play in our books, and delighted when the actors fluffed the occasional line, which they did a few times. So anyway, the plot very basically: Bassanio is a young Venetian of noble rank, wishes to woo the beautiful and wealthy heiress Portia of Belmont. Having squandered his estate, he needs money to subsidise his expenditures. He approaches his friend Antonio, who's a merchant, hence the name, who has previously bailed him out many times. Antonio agrees, but since he's cash poor, he promises to cover the bond if Bassanio can find a lender. And Bassanio turns to Shylock, a Jewish moneylender, and names Antonio as the loan's guarantor. Shylock agrees to lend Bassanio the money on condition that if Antonio is unable to repay the loan, Shylock may take a pound of flesh from Antonio's body, the pound of flesh. The play is frequently staged today, but is potentially troubling to modern audiences because of its central themes, which can easily appear anti-Semitic. That's because they are. Critics today still continue to argue over the play's stance on the Jews and Judaism. Many modern readers and theatregoers have read the play as a plea for tolerance, noting that Shylock is a sympathetic character, and they cite as evidence that Shylock's trial at the end of the play is a mockery of justice, with Portia acting as a judge when she has no right to do so. The characters who berated Shylock for dishonesty resort to trickery in order to win. So there, it's a very comprehensive breakdown of the play, and this is the trial scene of The Merchant of Venice. So Eunice will play Portia, and I will play Shylock. So I think we'll go straight into it. Eunice, if you'd like to kick us off.
Is your name Shylock?
Shylock is my name.
Of a strange nature is the suit you follow, yet in such rule that the Venetian law cannot impugn you as you do proceed. You stand within his danger, do you not?
Aye, so he says.
Do you confess the bond?
I do.
Then must the Jew be merciful.
On what compulsion must I? Tell me that.
The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the earth beneath. It is twice blessed. It blessed him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His sceptre shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. And earthly power doth then show likes. God's, when mercy seasons justice. Therefore, Jew, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that in the course of justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy. I have spoke thus much to mitigate the justice of thy plea, which if thou follow this strictest court of Venice, must needs give sentence against the merchant there.
My deeds upon my head, I crave the law, the penalty and forfeit of my bond.
Is he not able to discharge the money?
Yes, here, I tender it for him in the court, yea, twice the sum, if that will not suffice. I will be bound to pay it 10 times o'er. On forfeit of my hands, my head, my heart. If this will not suffice, it must appear that malice bears down truth, and I beseech you, rest once the law to your authority, to do a great right, do a little wrong, and curb this cruel devil of his will.
And it must not be. There is no power in Venice can alter a decree established. 'Twill be recorded for a precedent, and many an error by the same example will rush into the state. It cannot be.
A Daniel come to judgment, yea, a Daniel. O wise young judge, how I do honour thee.
I pray you, let me look upon the bond.
Here it is, most reverend doctor, here it is.
Shylock, there's thrice thy money offered thee.
An oath, I have an oath in heaven. Shall I lay perjury upon my soul? No, not for Venice.
Why, this bond is forfeit, and lawfully by this the Jew may claim a pound of flesh, to be by him cut off nearest the merchant's heart. Be merciful, take thrice thy money, and bid me tear the bond.
When it is paid according to the tenor, it doth appear you are a worthy judge. You know the law, your exposition hath been most sound. I charge you by the law, whereof you are a well-deserving pillar, proceed to judgment. By my soul, I swear there is no power in the tongue of man to alter me. I stay here on my bond. Most heartily I do beseech the court to give the judgment.
Why, then, this is it. You must prepare your bosom for his knife.
O noble judge, O excellent young man.
For the intent and purpose of the law hath full relation to the penalty which here apparently due upon the bond.
'Tis very true. O wise and upright judge, how much more elder art thou than thy looks.
Therefore prepare thy bosom.
Ay, his breast. So says the bond, doth it not, noble judge? Nearest his heart. Those are the very words.
It is so. Are there balance here to weigh this flesh?
I have them ready.
Have by some surgeon, Shylock, on your charge to stop his wounds, lest he do bleed to death.
Is so nominated in the bond?
It is not so expressed, but what of that? 'Twere good you do so much for charity.
I cannot find it in the bond. We trifled time. I pray thee, pursue sentence.
A pound of that same merchant's flesh is thine. The court awards it, and the law doth give it.
Most rightful judge.
And you must cut this flesh from off his breast. The law allows it, and the court awards it.
Most learned judge, a sentence. Come, prepare.
Tarry a little. There is something else. This bond doth give thee here no jot of blood. The words expressly are, a pound of flesh. Take then thy bond, take thou thy pound of flesh, but in the cutting it, if thou dost shed one drop of Christian blood, thy lands and goods are, by the laws of Venice, confiscate.
O upright judge, mark Jew, O learned judge, is that the law?
Thyself shall see the act, for as thou urgest justice, be assured thou shalt have justice, more than thou desired.
O learned judge, mark Jew, a learned judge. I take this offer, then pay the bond thrice and let the Christian go.
Soft.
Here's the money.
Soft. The Jew shall have all justice. Soft. No haste. He shall have nothing but the penalty. Therefore prepare thee to cut off the flesh, shed not one drop of his blood, nor cut thou less nor more, but just 1 pound of flesh. If thou cuttest more or less than a just pound, be it but so much as makes it light or heavy in the substance, or the division of the 20th part of one poor scruple, nay, if the scales do turn but in the estimation of a hair, thou liest, and all thy goods are confiscate. Thou diest, and all thy goods are confiscate. Why doth the Jew pause? Take thy forfeiture.
Give me my principal and let me go. I have it ready for thee. Here it is.
He hath refused it in the open court. He shall have merely justice and his bond.
Shall I not have barely my principal?
Thou shalt have nothing but the forfeiture, to be so taken at thy peril, Jew.
Why then let the devil give him good of it. I'll stay no longer.
Tarry, Jew. The law hath yet another hold on you. It is enacted in the laws of Venice. It is to be proved against at alien that by direct or indirect attempts he seek the life of any citizen, the party against the which he doth contrive shall seize 1/2 his goods, the other half comes to the privy coffer of the state, and the offender's life lies in the mercy of the Duke only, against all other voice. In which predicament I say thou standst, for it appears by manifest proceeding that indirectly and directly too thou hast contrived against the very life of the defendant, and thou hast incurred the danger formerly by the rehearsed. Down therefore and beg mercy of the Duke.
Nay, take my life and all. Pardon not that. You take my house where you do take the prop that doth sustain my house. You take my life when you do take the means whereby I live.
What mercy can you render him, Antonio?
So please my lord, the Duke and all the court, to quit the fine for 1/2 his goods. I am content. So he will let me have the other half in use to render it upon his death unto the gentleman that lately stole his daughter. 2 things provided more, that for this favour he presently become a Christian.
Oh.
The other that he do record a gift, here in the court of all he dies possessed, unto his son Lorenzo, and his daughter. Ah, he shall do this, or else I do recant the pardon that I late pronounced here.
Art thou contented, Jew? What dost thou say?
I am content.
Hey,
And that's the
powerful
end of that
stuff.
little scene. I hope you enjoyed
Powerful
that.
stuff.
We certainly enjoyed doing it.
Hey.
So that's the trial scene from The Merchant of Venice, William Shakespeare. What we'd like to do next is we've got a couple of Shakespeare's sonnets. Now, for those of you who don't know, Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets. They were published in 1609, dedicated to a W.H., whose identity remains a mystery, although William Herbert, the Earl of Pembroke, is frequently suggested as being W.H., because Shakespeare's first folio of 1623 was also dedicated to him. So, as I say, he wrote 154 sonnets, which were collected and published posthumously in 1609. The first 126 sonnets are addressed to a young man, and with whom the poet has a deep friendship. The next 28 are addressed to a mysterious woman, the so-called Dark Lady, which you may or may not have heard of, with which the poet has become infatuated. The sonnet is a form, especially as developed by Petrarch, was often associated with the theme of love. Shakespeare is no exception to this, and the majority of the sonnets have love as a theme. This theme can be handled in many ways. Some of the sonnets praise the beloved directly and others indirectly. So what I'd like to do first off, Eunice, I think if you'd like to read the first one, which is a very famous one, I think probably most people have heard of.
It's sonnet number 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaf has all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag you wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Lovely.
That's lovely, Eunice. Thank you. Well done. And as I said before, the first 154, I think it was, sonnets were actually dedicated to W.H., not the Dark Lady. So that's actually him giving his love, sharing his love of another man, which in today's parlance, of course, that would be homosexual, but in those days, no, it wasn't. Their love for their fellow man was a totally different thing, purely platonic, one assumes. So, yes, thank you, Eunice, that was lovely. I'd just like to read a couple of other sonnets. Sonnet 91, you may have heard of these, you may not. Shakespeare's Sonnet 91. Some glory in their birth, some in their skill, some in their wealth, some in their body's force, some in their garments, though new-fangled ill, some in their hawks and hounds, some in their horse. And every humour hath his adjunct pleasure, wherein it finds a joy above the rest. But these particulars are not my measure, all these I better in one general best. Thy love is better than high birth to me, richer than wealth, prouder than garments cost, of more delight than hawks or horses be, and having thee of all men's pride I boast. Wretched in this alone, that thou mayst take all this away, and me most wretched make. Sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark, that looks upon tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out, even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved.
I think that's one of my favourites. I think that's lovely. I could recite that without the page.
No,
it's just delightful.
It is, isn't it? It's
yes.
Just delightful. He's got it wrapped up nicely, isn't it? All
what a
love.
clever man he was.
He done right well. So you have one more sonnet for us, Eunice, if you'd like to introduce that.
It is a sonnet. It's sonnet number 43, and we all, Steve and I, both thought that it was a Shakespearean sonnet, but it isn't. It's written by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, but I think you will all know this very well. It's called How Do I Love Thee? How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee fiercely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And, if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Wow.
That's lovely.
Powerful stuff.
And who wrote that?
Elizabeth Barrett Browning, not Shakespeare.
No. That's delightful. She could write pretty well too.
Oh, not too bad.
Not too bad.
I don't think she wrote quite as much as Mr. Shakespeare did.
No.
I've got a tome that's sort of 12 inches high of all of Shakespeare's works at home.
There?
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
No, that was lovely. Thank you, Eunice. And a shout out to Marilyn, who's a Shakespeare buff, one of our other presenters. So we stole some of her thunder today, I think. Marilyn loves Shakespeare. Which brings us to the end of our programme. You've been listening to Bookworms. And my name is Steve, and I've had Eunice here with me today, helping me, and we've been having great fun. The show's been really fun to put on, but sadly, I'm afraid we're going to have to say goodbye. For one thing and another, we shan't be putting the show on anymore. But a thank you to Graham Bernard, Marilyn Buzaid, and Lucy Cooper, who have been absolutely fabulous.
Wilds.
And Alan and Sheila Wild, as well as Eunice and myself. We've been the main presenters of the show. We've enjoyed the time that we've done that.
Very much so.
Yeah, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. So that's all from Bookworms, but who knows what the future may bring. All the very best, and I hope you enjoy listening to Arrow 92.7 FM. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.